Hey, I'd like to continue on my quaternio models, which is models of four, because there's a lot of spirituality by the numbers you can connect to by seeing how we project onto nature through numbers. Anyway, four is one of the models that works for me. And one of the ones I like to talk about is John Bradshaw's models of four ways of overcoming addiction and shame. Usually you addict yourself as an analgesic. You numb yourself in order not to feel the pain, which may seem to be a smart thing to do at the beginning because you don't have the skill set to deal with it, but ultimately it maintains it, and it's like your own shadow stuff continues to own you, or as the poet says, the ghosts of the past keep barfing into your present life because you're not taking care of it. So he has this fourfold structure, and basically the first thing you do is what they call behavior modification. If you don't want to smoke cigarettes, just chew gum, or run around the block, or take a cold shower if you're too angry, or whatever it is. In other words, literally, physically do something different than what you normally do. That's the behavior modification. So like staying sober, for instance, is choosing not to drink. However the battle is, but that's what you do. And then the second thing, once you do the behavior mod, is you have to do the cognitive corrective work. That means you have to choose to look at the situation and reframe it in a certain way. So if you flunk out of school and that causes you to have to take a job, but then all of a sudden the job makes you wildly successful, so you can choose to look at your academic career going down the tubes not as a bad thing, but as a gateway or a portal that helped you enter into another stage of your life where you turned things around and you made it work for you. Then you have to do what's called original pain work. You have to descend into the hurt. You have to look at the vulnerability aspect, or you have to look at how did it affect you in terms of the choices that you then continue to make after something was done to you that was a moral breach, an invasion of your privacy in some way, in terms of psychologically or emotionally. And then how do you make sense of that so that you could go on without being bitter or sarcastic or nihilistic, or in whatever way negativity would prevent you from letting the true you flow through, because you just feel so bad, and maybe you think that because that experience happened to you, you're not worthy, you don't deserve to have something good, you have no clout, who could possibly love you. And then of course the last thing you do is you get an inner life, not just a regular life outside. You get an inner life. You find some spiritual practice or artistic pursuit or hobby, I guess you could say, that allows you to express yourself creatively. And from there, you allow those things that are within yourself to come out in an aesthetic way, in a way that shows that you have some beauty, even amidst the pain. So those four ways of being, the behavior mod, which is an action, to me is like karma yoga. You learn to get skill and disciplined in what you do. The cognitive corrective work is the way you use your jnana yoga, the way you use your intellect and your ability to change your perspective and shift your paradigm. So there's a whole new value structure to how you're doing what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, and maybe a vision of where you're going with what you're doing. And then, of course, the bhakti part, which is the devotional part, that's how you bring the joy into what you're doing. If you're really aligned with the forces inside yourself that feel right, and there's a neurochemistry, a neuroanatomy that lets you know, oh, this is it. And then that sense of felt rightness guides your intuition, and your heart is more open now. You're not so closed off to other people, and you can start jamming with other people. And so when you get that beautiful feeling back in your heart, like the wonder child is born again, and then in addition to the behavior mod and in addition to the cognitive corrective, now the original pain is turned into joy, because you're not letting the past saddle you anymore. And then finally, your inner life has to do with changing your whole perspective, so that the reason why you're alive is to have a spiritual revelation, is to connect yourself to the living spirit, and then to the extent that one can, allow yourself to be the sluice gate, the channel, the embodiment, the human being through which spirit can enter into the material plane and bless yourself and bless everybody else. So those are the four. I hope you remember them, and enjoy.